Okay, hello everyone. Hello. Oh, we can do better than that. Hello everyone. Hello. There we go, okay, the room is awake, brilliant. Hi everyone, my name's Steve Nesbitt. I'm a technical specialist for Modern Desktop, working from the UK, and I'm joined by a colleague of mine.
Hi. My name is Alessio Roig. I'm the GPM for Outlook for Mac.
And thanks for coming to the session today. As the title suggests, we're going to be talking about deploying and managing Office for Mac. A couple of things to start with. First of all, it's really important that we evaluate this session. I've just been informed that for every evaluation that you do, we're actually going to donate $5 to the Red Cross to help with the cleanup relief for the recent bad weather. So that would be awesome if you could do that. On a personal note, there's also a league table of good speakers, and I'd like to be at the top. So, two good reasons to do the evaluation. The second thing is we've actually been given a few quite cool little prizes here. This is a Raspberry Pi 3. I've got 5 of these, and they're going to be given out for the best and most interesting questions. And the definition of interesting question is one I can answer. Now, that's a joke, and that's why I've got Alessio here. So that's just something to be aware of. So why are we doing this session? Well, I guess full disclosure, for myself, I spend most of my time in the UK talking about Office from a Windows perspective. Office 365 Pro Plus, click to run, etc. And but increasingly, we find organisations where a lot of the, depending on the vertical of that particular organisation, they want to talk about Office on Mac as well. And really, the idea of today's session is to give you the understanding from the basics up to to a little bit more advanced stuff in terms of how you might manage that and do that. But the main message is really that Office for Mac is not an afterthought. It's a really important part of the Office story from Microsoft. There's a lot of investment in it, and there's a thriving community of experts both within Microsoft and outside where you can tap into that kind of knowledge. So what we're really looking to do here is just talk a little bit about Office for Mac and why you should choose it as a productivity platform. Understand a little bit more about the deployment packages available, and then go into deployment, installation, and updating the platform. At some point, we'd like you to connect to, or help you connect to some of the communities that are out there that can help with your deployment as you get back into your organizations. And we're going to talk a little bit about the roadmap and futures around things like the new build types, some of the conditional access and management pieces that have already been hinted at in some of the keynote sessions. So we'll start right at the beginning. Why would you choose Office for Mac? I think what's important here is that this is an Office version that has been optimized for the Mac. It's something that is developed with the Mac in mind. We see that it being enterprise ready, and we want to really get to a point where there's no delta in the experience from a Windows experience to one on a Mac, and really just give your users the ability to be fairly device agnostic. We often see in organizations that particularly senior managers, people like that, maybe CXOs, come in, they say, give you a Mac and say, make this work. And okay, we want to give you the ability to do that easily and with the same level of security and features that you'd expect from the experience on a Windows PC. The other side of it as well, and something that we really want to stress, is it's important to tie this idea of Office on a Mac to the overall idea of Office 365, and we'll get to why that's important in a little while in a bit more detail. But really, the Office 365 subscription and licensing your Office for Mac in that way is going to be the way that you can get the best value out of your investment in Office 365 and Office in general. So in a longer version of this session, where we've got more like an hour, we can go into more of the features and some of the information that, some of the differences between the platforms. But having used the Mac to create this session, I know that, the usability features, it's not that great a jump between the two platforms now. And a lot of the features that we're now coming into the Windows side are also making it into the Office for Mac. The actual package itself follows the latest sandbox guidelines for Apple, and we'll go into what those packages look like in a little bit of time. And it will run side by side in Office 2011. So if you do have any of those builds still available, you can run the 2016 version, which is going to be the focus of today's talk, alongside 2011. However, 2011 is almost out of support. Very, very close to being out of support. In fact, what date is it? It's really close to being out of support. So we just to get home the concept. There's no concept of extended support here for this product. It's not just ourselves who are removing support for this. It's actually the Mac OS from 10.13 doesn't support this platform, and so you can, by all accounts, install it, but it will not run very well. So I guess our first sort of takeaway from this session is if you haven't got your users on 2016 version of Office for Mac, then we pretty much need to do that. The slight caveat to that at the bottom there, you can see, is that Link for Mac has an additional year. And that's simply because of the fact that the Skype for Business client, which was rolled out around about this time last year, isn't quite at feature parity with the old Link client. And so you've got a little bit more grace in terms of that. Obviously, we've just had the announcement of Skype and Teams. So we're not sure exactly what this journey will look like, but I think it's fair to say that Teams will be the sort of vanguard client for most of that communications moving forward. So I'm just going to start with talking through a little bit about the various types of deployment packages that you have available with Office for Mac. And the first one is this what we call a SKUless package or PKG file, which is kind of the main media package that we use. In effect, you've got the ability to have the Suite installer and the standalone installers. And as you can see, there's also the ability to pull OneNote down from the Mac App Store. Now, effectively, you have two choices here. You install the Suite, and you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can obviously let the users do it, or you can push it out using a third-party management system. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Or you can install those standalone installers. And this is one of the reasons why, we'll get to this in a bit more detail, why each of these apps can effectively live on its own. So it's a sandboxed application with everything that it needs to exist on its own. Now, as you can probably see, the Skype standalone package hasn't made it into the Suite installer, and I'm reliably informed that's probably because of the fact that obviously there's now this push for Teams to be the primary unified communications platform. And so we may see in the future some changes to that Suite installer package, but as things stand at the moment, this is where we are. And there are reasons that we haven't decided to go into the Mac App Store for all of these products. And these are primarily technical in terms of things like updating. As things stand at the moment, the OneNote client is the only one that you can get through that App Store. The little clock icon, the green icon, stands for Microsoft Auto Update, or MAU, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But that's a big part of this presentation and something that we need to be aware of. So the second way is to look at the deployment packages associated to a volume license agreement. So how many of you here have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft? Okay, that's pretty much everybody. So you'll be able to tie your licensing for the Suite actually to that agreement. And this is done through automated serialization, where we basically take the key from the we effectively tie the key to the unique identifier on the hard drive in order to serialize that particular Mac against your license agreement. This is done automatically, and as you can see here, OneNote has disappeared from this side, apart from being as part of the Suite installer package. So if you want to use OneNote, you've really got no choice in terms of that. The final thing to be aware of in this little section here is that we can use something called a volume license serializer to actually take versions of Office that have been deployed through the SKUless PKG approach and actually serialize them against your enterprise agreement. So if you go away and you find out that there are some instances of Mac where those keys have not been applied, there is an ability to rectify that using this ISO packet, this volume license serializer. Now, those two are obviously the primary, or have been the primary ways of managing, getting hold of the actual application packages, pushing them out and licensing them for your users. However, as we move more into a cloud-focused world, what we've got here is the concept of subscription-based licensing. Now, subscription-based licensing is important because this is tying your version of Office for Mac to your Office 365 subscription. And okay, you might say, well, why is this important? Well, first of all, it obviously gives you additional value from the fact that you're paying into Office 365. Secondly, we're actually at a position now where the Mac client and the features you have available will be different from those that are subscription licensed to those that are licensed in a separate way. What I mean by that is the actual build will be the same, but the application of a subscription-based licensing will turn on additional features. And so the delta between the builds that are released for Mac that aren't done in this way and the ones that are being enabled by our Office 365 will continue to grow. And what I've done on the screen there is I've taken a snapshot from the website at the bottom, which is macadmins.software/matrix, which basically shows you the sorts of features that are now coming out that are exclusive to the subscription model. And so we've got some examples there. We've got some Researcher for Word. We've got Advanced Threat Protection Safe Links being able to come out to Mac, and a bunch of Outlook features as well. I don't know if you wanted to comment on that for a moment.
You're on point on the way the things are going to continue evolve.
Yeah.
If you've been keeping up with, especially Outlook has been making most of the advancements in features in the last 16 months. You've seen some things are going to everyone and where it makes sense, such as change of the editor. But when it comes to differentiating features, they're always going to be 365 in the majority of cases, unless really it's something that it would make sense to maintain on two different flavors.
Okay, so it's pretty key takeaway. And we've actually got an Outlook booth down in the expo as well, where if you want to talk about a little bit more about this, then you can. Please come and see us after that. Now, okay, so you might be thinking, well, that's great, but I've already got my volume license deployed version of Mac out there to all these devices. What can I do? Well, there's actually a tool which is available via the link on the bottom left there, which enables you to convert volume licensing into Office 365 licensing. And basically what it does, it removes the licensing, cleans up the keychain entries, and then sets the application back to its first run state. The user will then log on and they'll be prompted to enter in their credentials, at which point you'll be directed to the Office 365 portal. They can sign in, and that's how then they're able to tie their Office for Mac installation up to their Office 365 credentials. And that will then light up, as Alessio says, the new features as we're pushing out. So any questions at that point on there? Would you mind using the microphone if it's not too difficult?
I'm pretty loud.
Oh, you are pretty loud. That's good.
I've never seen Access available. So all the other typical PC apps are.
Yep.
Access is always missing. Why is that? And then also, is there any plans to ever include it?
Do you want to take that?
There's no plans to include
I
Access.
didn't think there was.
I do not know the history of it. I've been on the team for 5 years, but there's no plans to bring Access to the platform.
Does it cause an issue for yourself?
Well, so when you talk about having so I work for a global company. We have mixed environment, right? We have folks who do database stuff. They prefer to stay on their Mac versus potentially, running both a Windows and a Mac session, right? And then you have two licenses, right? So it's just always been a curiosity why that's always been missing.
Yeah, I think I can only talk from trying to figure out how the best way to say this. A lot of the time, Access databases within organizations are seen as almost a bit of an issue when it comes to the establishment of grey IT. So you'll find when you go into big organizations, I'm going into my other job here, big organizations, you'll find a lot of critical business processes being effectively run on Access databases. And sometimes that's more of an issue than it is a benefit. I don't know if that has anything to do with why it's not been pushed out here. My guess would be it's just not seen as a priority as the main parts of the Mac store. But you do get a Raspberry Pi, so that's good. Do you want to just hand that back? For those of you who thought I was lying, there you go. Okay, thank you. Okay, one more.
I'll go to the mic.
Thank you.
Okay, so I work for the University of New Mexico, and we have a very large population of Macs. We've had the
Yep.
2016 pushed out. I know a lot of us here with Macs, there's a big problem with the actual, the key getting out of sync. So since we're federated between O365, we're having problems with OneDrive, where once the key becomes out of sync, then we're not able to let the OneDrive app work. So we have to disassociate from the domain, reassociate through LDAP, and then communicate through. Do you have a tool that would help with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
That shouldn't be
Experiencing this, or is there
happening.
others? Okay.
Good.
So, go on, sorry.
I suggest come down to the expo and let's talk about
Yeah.
it, because I don't have knowledge of that problem, but we can talk with people that can, or get in touch with the guys in Redmond to look into it.
Also, are you getting the client from the store, or are you getting it from,
It's
are you
actually from
deploying it standalone?
what, standalone, not the store.
Right.
Because it's part of the enterprise agreement.
Okay. So it will be starting to be shipped as part of the suite
Right.
at some point in the future. I'm not sure exactly when that will be, but we may find that issue disappears when that happens. But let's chat about that offline. I don't have a great answer for that, I'm afraid.
Are you using something for your Rose tickets, like an Enterprise Connect or a Nomad?
We're using Enterprise Connect.
Okay.
We still have the same problem between the two.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a Raspberry Pi, even though I couldn't answer the question, which broke the definition of an interesting question, but there you go. Okay, I'm going to keep going because we don't have a huge amount of time. So, like I say, if you don't get a chance to ask a question, please find us at the expo. We'll be more than happy to take these away and get them back to you. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Auto Update. So what is it? As you might expect, it's the primary way of using of the Office client on Mac being kept up to date. It's optional. You can disable it. You can, and organisations may do that if they're looking to more closely manage the versions of the build that they're looking to put out there. But it's certainly our preferred way of managing the updates for all of the non-Mac App Store versions of the app. So effectively, you're not going to use this for OneNote. OneNote will update on a monthly cadence as defined by Microsoft through the store. So if you disable MAU, you're effectively it's on you then in terms of updating, and the supportability for specific builds for Mac is not huge, and therefore you do have to look at keeping up to date. Now, if I just have a quick look, and I have had to record these demos due to slight presentation issues, but what I'm going to show here is just the ability to find the preferences plist file within obviously the user library there. And basically this is showing you the auto update to plist, which actually controls MAU. And you can find that through Finder, but basically what you can see here on the demonstration is if I go into check updates for Word, I can see the various different levels of that MAU gives me. But I can also have this little checkbox here which allows me to get to Insider fast. And that might not be something that you want your users to be able to do. And so what I can actually do with my terminal control here is if I run a specific command, I go find terminal, I run my defaults write command here, and basically I'm actually able to disable that inside a checkbox in my Word environment. So basically what that's enabling me to do, and it should work, it did when I watched it earlier, it should enable me, if I go back to my check for updates, I can see that box is now grayed out. So MAU, like most other components, has a plist association to it. You are able to modify that plist, although we do, as a best practice, prefer you modify the upper preference domains rather than the individual plist files themselves, because that gives you more sort of manageability across a number of different applications. So that's just an example of plist modifications on MAU. So MAU has a number of different options. You can use it to target different channels, as we saw inside of slow and inside of fast. You can also do something called deploy a MAU cache server, and this is relatively new information, a new option for MAU. And there's really two use cases of why you would do that. The first one is if you want to use a local network source as a target for MAU to get the actual media from, so the packages from, rather than directly going to the Microsoft CDN. So why would you do that? Well, it may be that if you have one device on your network, then it going to get updates is not going to be too much of a problem. However, if you've got thousands of devices on your network, all hitting your network, going over to the CDN at the same time, then that might be more of an issue. This enables you to basically direct them to a far more a local point to actually bring that media down from, and so that can obviously save bandwidth and make that update process more efficient. The second use case as well is with the manifest server control. You're basically able to effectively set a preference to the maximum version of the software that's enabled to be run on a specific set of devices, and that can again enable you to make sure that the user base aren't going faster than, say, the application that you've had a chance to test. So MAU is pretty important. It's worth looking into and reviewing how those settings are going to be deployed across the organization and how you're going to look at update management. Oh, sorry, question? Yeah, from a forcing perspective, so basically the way I've seen it work is that you can now have completely silent updates. So it will, if the applications aren't open, then it can completely install without basically prompting the user for that. The question though is more if they are using the applications and you don't want them to, you want them to force it. I've seen the toast or the sort of pop-up type notification saying you have to shut this down. I might have to get back in you on whether it's forced.
There's no way to silently forcing the application to shut down. The option that it's available right now with MAU as it is today is to prompt the user to shut down the application to continue as the packages get deployed and installed. There's work in progress for the MAU 4.0, but we're not ready to discuss how that's going to work. But it's a scenario that we're well aware of it, so it's most likely be something we're going to tackle in the 4.0 version.
Sorry, just one more because we do have time constraints.
To his question, until the force option becomes available, there are third-party products that will do it.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to have to keep moving, I'm afraid. We've only got 23 minutes left. So just a little bit of a conversation about what is actually in these suite installer packages, and it's just something quite interesting. As we talked about before, we have each of those individual applications has its own, can basically stand on its own. And so what that basically means is each application contains everything it needs to run. And so what you end up finding with that is that you have some duplication in some of the parts of these builds, which is probably potentially a little bit inefficient. So for example, the frameworks, the fonts, the proofing tools here are going to exist in each application individually and be pushed out through the suite. So what and this means that the actual apps become quite large. So the actual install size of the build becomes up to 3 gigabytes inside, which is quite large. And in a little while, we'll talk a tiny bit more about how we discuss how we're going to help reduce the size down of those upgrades and the amount of information that's coming over the network. What we actually do within the suite update is we actually break out those components in red there, and we actually re-inject those at install time. So actually, while we're able to meet Apple's sandbox guidelines for the actual package, we can get the build size down to around about 1.5 gig rather than 3. So that was a little taste of the app types and packages that you have available, the various different ways to license them, and the best ways to keep them up to date. In terms of deployment and installation, there's a few things to take away on the slide there, and I don't want to particularly drain the slide. One common ask is, and we've actually had this at sessions for Click to Run, there is no Click to Run on Mac. That's not how we do it. It's not how it's deployed. We also don't use MSI or CAB files. We use the PKG format. There's no at least at the moment anyway, all the language packs are basically installed into that build as well. We can do side-by-side installations, as we said before, but 2011 is moving out of support, so that kind of goes away as a bit of a consideration. And in terms of deployment techniques, I mean, the gentleman at the back mentioned the third parties there. We do support all of the major third parties to actually push out these builds. One that I've used personally, obviously Jamf out there, but there's Monkey. We also do manual and GUI installs as well. But probably the easiest install route that you have is actually allowing users to download directly from the Office 365 portal. So what we have here is a little button in the top right-hand corner that says install Office 2016. And that's actually universal whether the user is actually hitting this from a browser, from a Mac or a PC. So if I click over here, I can go to my admin portal. I can actually go down to settings in my admin portal for Office 365. And I can go all the way down and I can see my Office software download settings, and this is where as an admin you can decide exactly whether or not a user is allowed to bring the builds directly from the Office 365 portal. So we can see here we've got a checkbox and a slider for Office, we've got one for Skype for Business as well, and we can turn those on and off. How many people here are using Office 365, by the way? Oh, that's good to see from my day job. So from a deployment perspective, really, there's only really two ways of thinking about it. Either you can make it fairly manual and let the users go down and download them from either the locations where they're available, or ideally from the Office 365 portal, or you can utilize a third-party solution and push out those applications as you would any other app package to your Mac. So once you've actually downloaded or thinking about downloading and deploying the actual app packages, we have then obviously the configuration. And so the main ways of configuring the Mac experience for Office is through these plist files that we mentioned earlier. As we said and we saw earlier on, they are readily accessible by a user if they have the correct rights in order to go to the libraries and find and modify these files. Again, if you're using a third-party tool, you're able to lock down these preferences files as part of a configuration XML and push that out along with the app manifest to actually enable you to control what the build of the actual app looks like for Office for Mac on that particular machine. And our best practice is basically to do that, which is modify the highest level preference domain and then push that out using a script. However, one thing that is quite useful, and again is fairly new, is this concept of suite-wide preferences. So as we talked about before, we have multiple different apps that are sandboxed within the environment, and we are able basically to modify the preferences for each of those suites with one command. So I've got a few on the screen there, but it's actually probably easier if we just see this in action. So again, if I go down to my folder, I can see my preferences and my plist files associated with my Office install. I can find my com.microsoft.office plist, and there it is, and I can see it within the viewer there. Now, if I want to get a little bit more information on that, I can actually go over to my Finder and run terminal and basically run a defaults read command to see what that plist actually contains for my Office for Mac. So I'll just type that in. And we can see that running. So what I want to do here is I want to change the experience of opening and saving files for my user and set that across every application within Office at the same time. So basically, if I go down to my Microsoft Word account here and I go to my Backstage view, I can see that if I go to Save As a file, okay, I get a very specific look and feel around that particular open panel. I can go Cancel, and I can see that the same thing applies when I go to PowerPoint as well. Save As, and you've got the same look and feel for both. And so what I want to be able to do is I want to change that, and I want to use the command defaults to local open save, which was one of the ones on the table before. So if I go over here and I execute a defaults write command, I can use the integer and set that Boolean value to true. And what that's basically done when I run that command is it will have changed the look and feel across both of the Office suite. So if I go back to my Microsoft Word and I open up my document and my file stage panel, what you should see is the document view has now changed. So we've actually modified the save location and the look and feel of that across not only Word, but also in a second when we get there, PowerPoint as well. And so that's just an example of using the suite-wide preferences to alter the behavior across the whole of Office using one particular command. And as you can probably see, if I go back to my slide, there's actually quite a few of them. So there's the ability to set the Office theme, Office activation email addresses, for example, are all on there. And this is something that we're looking to expand out as well. So we will constantly be adding values to this to make administration more simple. Yes?
Could you set the same value for OneDrive so it defaults to OneDrive every time you open it up?
I don't, from a OneDrive perspective, I might have to check on that one. So what you basically wanting to, so OneDrive becomes the default save location.
Because that gives you a backup option as well, right?
Let me, can I come back to you on that one? I'll check unless you,
I would second that one.
yeah, okay. And we'll third, yes, sorry.
No problem. Is there a way to use device-based activation with?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that, sorry. Apologies.
So I work for a hospital. We have a lot of like kiosk machines. So we use on the PC side, we use device-based activation for click to run. Does that exist in the Office world? Or for the Mac world?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I know exactly what you mean because I do that all the time. But yeah, so you're basically talking about the ability to set the shared computer activation
Yes,
key
shared
on,
computer
yeah.
activation instead of assigning it to users.
No, so not that I'm aware of. Again, I don't know if there's a plist value to set that. That might be something we have to come back. I can find out for you if that's.
We've been looking, we haven't found it.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think there's.
So you can only do the volume then.
Yeah, you can do the volume licensing activations for that. It's a gap actually. I guess the reason being is, and this might be a bit of a, what's the word? Assumption is that we don't necessarily find a huge amount of frontline workers wanting to log on to Macs.
Correct, and that's right. We just want to be, our hospital always ran behind, so we want to be ahead
Sure.
of it, and we're doing it with the PC, so we just want to do it uniform.
Yeah. The answer at the moment, as far as I know, is no, but I can try and find out for you. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to keep going because we've only got just over 10 minutes left. So, updates. So, once we've deployed and we're obviously configured our particular build of Mac, Office for Mac, we're then going to look at how we update that. Now, in terms of updates, we have a very fixed engineering cycle of as to get these updates out to the users. Primarily, it's about getting those builds up to the insider build track first. And so, as an organisation, it's probably a good idea to have at least some of your machines using that insider fast build in order to have a look at what that contains. We then inspect the telemetry of that insider build to look for any problems before that's pushed out to the production build. And as we've said before, really, we are looking to utilize MAU primarily as the update mechanism for the majority of the use cases. MAU is quite flexible, and we've talked about things like the cache server, but if you turn that off and disable it, you then are responsible for doing that yourself with either with potentially a third-party tool such as Jamf, and that's entirely up to you. In order to kind of minimize the impacts of these updates, we've now got this concept of combo and delta builds as well. So the combo build is the build we saw earlier, which contains the entire app package, etc. The delta build is, as you might expect, is the N-1 new build that you can deploy on top of an initial combo build in order to keep up to date. Now, one of the reasons why MAU is useful is the fact that it basically, if you run it, doesn't allow you to get out of step. So by disabling MAU, you're more likely to get out of step. If you do get out of step, you pretty much have to go back to that combo build in order to get back up because those are sequential.
How does the devices connect to MAU server? Is there like a config file that you set up on the server that...
Yes, there's a whole, so in the deck, there's a link to exactly how you set the MAU cache server up, but there's a number of different, I don't have time to go through it here, but there's a number of different commands that you have to do to set that cache server up, and then you can basically have it pushed and directed at a local network source for your package. Yeah, it's a setup.
Today we use Casper in our environment.
Yes, yeah, so yeah. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about Intune in a while as well. So there might be some things there that may help with that as well. Sorry, I have seen you, by the way. Apologies. Go on.
Configuration Manager has recently added support for...
Yes.
So is that the plan to eventually have it?
I think the plan, and again, you might tell me if I'm wrong, but the plan is very much Intune. as the primary MDM platform for not only, I mean, it seems to me not only Mac, but Windows as well. You know, looking at managing Windows devices and Macs as basically mobile devices and having a similar thing there. But from the areas that I've talked to before, it looks like it's going to be very much a hybrid configuration approach, where you can run System Center for some devices and Intune for others. I don't know if you want to. Okay. Sorry, go on. I know you've been waiting. Apologies.
No worries. I was wondering, is there a way to specifically control when the updates go out on a mass scale, or even push out, say, on this date?
Yes. So that's kind of where the third-party tools come in to be able to manage those operations. Really, with MAU you can do certain things, but that's kind of where the ability to control these things with an MDM platform adds that level of capability. We've only got 9 minutes, so I'm just going to go through the last little bit, and we'll catch you in a bit. I realise I haven't been giving out any Raspberry Pis, which is a bit naughty, but come and grab them at the end. So a couple of things that I wanted to just highlight from a changes perspective. So first of all, the suite updates. The idea of this is, and this is technology that's coming. The idea of this really is that we don't we remove the duplication of updates between the apps. So as we talked about before, there may be a font that's available on every single Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Well, the idea of the suite updates is it brings down that piece of code once, and it basically pushes it across all of the builds, and so you can minimize the size of the suite by up to 60%. And so we should start to see, in conjunction with some of the other technology we've talked about, a lot less network load when updating the builds. The second one here is really interesting, which is this idea of binary updates. So the example, and bear with me, is if you have, say, example, a proofing tool like a Norwegian grammar checker. They tend to be about 100 meg in size, and if we change 1 byte of that code, we basically have to ship the whole thing again. Being able to ship the deltas between the actual individual components of the proofing tool means that we can reduce again the size of the overall build. And so these two changes to the actual package should enable us to get updates down to be even more skinny than they are at the moment. So if you combine that with the ability to keep up to date using MAU, keep to that N-1 level, the network impact of this should be relatively small. Okay, so just a couple of words on not supported practices. This is very similar to the slide last year that I did last year, so I'm just hammering it home. Please don't change the app package. I get the feeling that a lot of work went into it and they don't want you messing with their baby, so maybe just don't do that. Copying the licensing plist between computers was something that people did a lot. We've kind of solved that with the volume licensing serializer, but what I'm really here to talk to you about today primarily is about moving to the Office 365 subscription for your Office for Mac. If you can do that, it takes away a lot of these problems in terms of licensing and enables you to be a lot more flexible. And the final one is just be aware that you can't use those Delta packages for an initial install. We want you to start installing with the full package, and then obviously you can keep up to date, and we've talked a little bit about the reasons why that's important. Okay, there's just a couple more things I want to talk about before we open up to questions. So the first one is, I think, a really important one, especially when your PowerPoint changes like that, is the roadmap for the actual client. And this is something that is brand new. So we are effectively moving the Office client build to the 16 version of the code base, which basically means that the Office for Mac and the Office for Windows code base will be the same. This is designed to be transformative, and I'll get to why in a second, but it's going to feel iterative, and this is actually releasing to Insider Fast in October. So what does that really mean? Well, it really just lays the foundation for the two clients, for Windows and Mac, to share the same development path. And what it really means is we can start to get the Office for Mac client to get features at the same rate as the Office for Windows client. And oh, look at that. So some examples of what we might see are on the screen there, such as real-time co-authoring, etc., pivot tables, pivot charts, things like that have, where the Mac client has sort of fallen behind. Now, I'm sure that this, and you guys at the product group might be able to tell me more, but this is going to be a relatively slow process, but it does mean to say that those two builds will start to run in sync. And so that's something I think is really good news. We kind of touched on this already, but I just wanted to give a shout out to a session that's happening a little bit later on this week. Intune does support enrolling Macs into it from a management perspective, and while I was preparing this session, I enrolled this Mac into my conditional access for Intune for Exchange Online, and had a little bit of a play around in terms of the restrictions and things I can do for conditional access on my Mac. Now, this is something that is really interesting. It will enable you to deliver and start to deploy and configure Office for Mac via Intune in the way that you would do with a Jamf or one of those type of third-party tools. And this then enables this kind of compliance and conditional access that's so key to the rest of the Office 365 suite. I don't know if you've been to any of the security sessions, but conditional access is something that comes up time and time again when we talk to organizations about, monitoring things by device health, by network location, by, you name it. People want to record that, want to do that. And so there's actually a session here on Thursday at 9 o'clock, which is Manage and Secure Android, iOS, and macOS devices and apps with Microsoft Intune. If you can go along to that, I would. That's going to give you a lot more information about our roadmap around this particular area. Don't know if you wanted to. Okay. Sorry, question? Oh, is the mic on? Go on.
I can just yell.
Oh, you just yell. That's fine.
With that the code changing, does that mean we'll be able to get products like Project or Visio on Macs in the future?
I would have to check for you, I'm afraid, unless you guys know. It's not the plan.
Really, the focus is on
Ooh! It's not the plan.
register, pass back on.
That's not the plan, so here, have a Raspberry Pi to make up for it. Sorry, dude. Sorry, at the front. I've seen you, by the way. Go on, sorry.
So if that's not the plan, is there a way to get at least some features like maybe Gantt chart creation onto?
I'm just wondering if Office 365 might be the way. Do it via the browser. I don't think there's any, like with the access question earlier, I haven't seen any plans, but I worked with the product group to set this session up, so I'll take this feedback back to them directly and say there's at least 3 people who who want that particular application. Sorry, I think there was one over here, was there? Yeah, sorry, in the corner.
Are the restrictions from Intune for Windows and Mac going to be the same thing?
I would ask Derek, who's at the session on Thursday, that question. I'm assuming that the Intune is more advanced for the Windows platform. It's further along. So I think that might be the plan, but that's probably one to ask Derek on Thursday if you can get to that session. If not, and I'll put my email address up again, if you have any questions or you want to connect with me, please do. Go on, sorry. Oh, sorry, yeah, in the front.
Are there any plans to include Publisher?
I'm just going to write down, hang on, everything that isn't there already. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take away the delta between the Office on Windows and the Office on Mac and find out what the plan is for them. Good question.
I inherited our Apple imaging solution. We're using Deploy Studio,
Yep.
so we do it through monolithic imaging. And I just wanted to make sure we're not doing license violations. We have our Apple OS, we put Office on it, we capture the image, and then we dump it out to X number of Macs. That's how it's been historically. We are moving to O365, so that licensing should be changed, but have we been burning through licenses by not decommissioning machines properly, or are we technically in licensing violation?
Hang on. I think that's what they call a hospital pass of a question. I don't know, I'm afraid. I
don't know, but I should take the 5th. And
I take the 5th on that one.
You can't self-incriminate yourself.
Because that's the best question of the day, so you can have that. Right, I've got one. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of questions. I'm sorry, I've just got one more thing to talk about, and then I promise I'll let you go. OneDrive for Business standalone client is going to be starting to be moved from the store to the suite installer, so you'll actually be able to get that as part of Office for Mac. It's really important to understand because this is going to support conditional access again for Mac as well. So you'll be able to do things that we've been able to do in Windows for a while in terms of managing when and where people can sync and to what devices they can sync down their OneDrive files. There's also a bunch of plist configurations that you can run against OneDrive for Business client. So I've just put a couple on the screen here, but the full article's at the bottom on the deck. A good one that we always get in the Windows world is disabling personal accounts, because the OneDrive client can connect to a consumer as well as an enterprise OneDrive instance. You might want to disable that using the plist files.
Is the Mac going to pick up the same OneDrive features where you don't have the local file and it's only
So files on demand. So I think that's well, I mean, I've actually got a demo on here. We don't have time to run it, but there is a demo on here where it looks and feels pretty much identical. So I'd be amazed if that wasn't the plan. I think it's just a little bit further down the road. It's actually not quite out for Windows yet. So I would expect it on Mac in the next sort of 3 to 6 months, but I'll check again. Sorry, at the front.
Kind of on the same topic of including new apps, with Skype for Business Online going away in favor of Teams, will Teams be treated as an Office app and brought over as a PKG package, or will it stay behind the app?
So, good question. So that is my final slide. So I'm just going to play this while I answer the question because I made it and I want to play it. Teams is actually downloadable at the moment from the web. So there's actually a location you can go, which I'm browsing to here, and actually get Teams as a client for your devices. And then you can sort of push that out. And as you can see here, I'm just getting it, downloading it as an installer file, and then basically going from here. I don't know why it's not playing. Let me just do it from here. It comes down as a file type. You can just install it from there. Now, it comes down and you can install that particular application. Now, from our perspective, Teams is an interesting one because Teams doesn't form part of Office on Windows either. There's a good reason for that, and one of the main reasons is because of the update cadence. So with Teams, you have one version of Teams, okay? And it's one version of Teams for everyone. Whereas with Office, we have thousands of versions of Office all over the place, all running different app configurations. It's something from the Windows side that we're trying to get away from. Have people with choice, but a lot more uniformity in terms of their Office build. So you can deploy. So I am hoping that Teams will form part of the Mac installer from a suite perspective, but will update using MAU at the same cadence as everything else. What we don't want is two sets of updates. Now, OneDrive, for example, still updates on its own and probably will still update on its own using a slightly different format. One thing to be aware of here as well is that Teams currently isn't supported on Safari. So you can't actually navigate to the Office 365 portal for Teams, so you do have to get that client installed if you want to use it on Mac. You can have my last Raspberry Pi for mentioning Teams because it's the hot button of the year. There we go. Okay, so thank you very much. We're over time. A couple of pieces of information. You'll all have access to the deck. There's a really thriving Mac admin Slack community that's available for you to connect to. The person who helped me with this deck, Paul Bowden, is a big part of. And this is somewhere where we can help you not only with what we're doing, but the guys from Jam, from Monkey, and all those other guys are on there as well helping out. The Apex team internally, I can connect you with those guys if you've got any more in-depth questions. And all of the software and all of the information, the tools is available from that Mac Admin's software link. And finally, there's a whole bunch of Office sessions this week. Obviously, this one's been about Mac. There's supporting sessions for this around Outlook for Mac as well as for Intune. But there's a ton of stuff for Windows for Office as well. Please evaluate this session. If not for me, then for the donations that we talked about earlier on. Thank you. You've been a really great set of guys to present to, so I really appreciate it. Thanks.